Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. I am back with my guest host for the month, Tammy Theissen of the Theissen Design Co. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. We're so glad to be back again today.
This has really been a lot of fun. And we have a guest that Tammy has brought in. Her name is Melissa Elliott, and Melissa has actually had Tammy do a lot of work for her. So we're going to get to hear firsthand what it's like to work with Theissen Design Co. and just what that process feels like. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
This is fun. I was so excited to have Melissa because we have done several projects, and she'll get to share some of that. But obviously, as a design and contracting company, getting to work with the same homeowner again is just the biggest compliment we could ever have. And so we have some exciting things she's going to share with us.
Absolutely. I can't wait to tell you.
So when you first started out, what did you have Tammy do?
Well, we started with Tammy about a year and a half ago, or it's probably getting closer to 2 years now. The very first project we had Tammy come in on was my husband's home office, and it was something that I felt was the area we had not touched yet, and I wanted to do something nice for my husband because I'm always buying myself home stuff first, new couches and new bedding for myself. So we started with the home office. It was a pretty blank slate, and Tammy came in and worked her magic.
It was so fun. I think actually I mentioned this gorgeous office we had done, and so this is Melissa's husband's office that I was referencing at the time. But we picked some really bold colors for the cabinets that are just this perfect chameleon navy with a tint of green in it, and some deep cognac leather choices. And so I think he loved it. I mean,
he loved it. He had always, when I'd shared pictures with him for inspiration, he had leaned towards those dark, rich colors, like the full. Well, he would have loved, the true man's office with the dark wood paneling, floor to ceiling, and the, the big leather chairs. And so, yes, it was perfect for him, but in a modern way with the really interesting kind of jadey green, emerald green paneling. It was a showstopper.
Yes. And what I loved about that is, Melissa's aesthetic, the rest of her house was, really light colored wood floors and a lot of bright white and that. And so we were able to kind of give him this moody office, but still keep it feeling like aesthetically similar to the rest of the house, since it was right off their front door and all that. So it was such a fun project.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember one of our first meetings when we decided that was where we were starting, and maybe it was the second meeting. She brought her color samples, and I had no idea which direction we were going at this time, but she presented me with this color. It's called Narragansett green. I was like, neither of us knew how to pronounce it, and I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Because it was almost like you had to take the plunge from going from white to this dark color. And I was like, I don't know. I thought about it for probably a few weeks, and I think I messaged you or called you and said, we're going to go for it. It was almost like I just had to take that leap of faith with Tammy and say, she knows what she's doing to go that bold. Oh, at the time, I thought it was going to be so bold, but when you saw it finished, it was, it meshed with the whole rest of the house, which, like she said, was white and calm. So yeah,
I feel like everyone's going to want to see this. So they could see it on our Instagram page, Theissen Design Co. Because you should check it out, and you'll know it right when you see it. It's the beautiful office.
Yep.
So does he really enjoy that now that he's having to probably work from home?
Well, he had always just went into his office to get the work done and then get out. But yes, you would find him hanging out in there more. Absolutely. Yep. He was proud of it, and he spent more time in there just not doing work, just probably getting away from me for a while.
So you guys have moved on to a bigger project now, right?
Yes, we have. Since we wrapped up several projects with Tammy, we were actually in the middle of starting the living room. I'll tell you, we went through dining room, master bed, master bath, and we can rewind to that. But we were moving on to the living room, and we had just picked out and ordered new couches. That was the first step. And I called her and said, Tammy, we're stopping this project. We're selling our house.
I was actually on a flight, like boarded. So I was like, wait, I need the 2-minute download because they're going to tell me to turn off my phone.
Oh, yeah, you were getting on a plane. I forgot.
Yeah, so I was like, what's going on? Catch me up. Because obviously we had these beautiful spaces all done in her house. But
yes.
She had more exciting news.
Yes, we were out of town. We lived about 20 minutes out of town, and we were just ready to be in town. So we decided enough of the commuting, and we wanted to move to Topeka and build again. Because I think after building once so recently, I just loved the idea of everything new and getting to pick everything again. So I called Tammy and said, where do I start? Do you recommend anyone? Do you have any suggestions? Where should I look in Topeka? Just the whole shebang. And yeah, it became a bigger conversation.
It did. And so, we're a design and construction company, so we've always been this hybrid. We're licensed general contractors. We do a lot of work on removing structural walls, redoing things. So, that was all very, our daily bread and butter and current projects. But Melissa asked us a little bit bigger question.
Yeah, I had suggested that she be my builder, and I didn't know at the time that they were licensed general contractors. And she said, "Hold on, we need to talk." And that's how it became. We are building our second house with Tammy, Theissen Design and Construction.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So we are thrilled about this huge thing. I think, I'm not sure we would have ever made that leap without knowing the homeowner. I feel like it's just a perfect situation since we have such great rapport with them as homeowners and friends and clients. And then, also, I just love her style. It's just going to be the most beautiful house ever.
Which is really awesome because you're getting that build job and you're getting someone that can help you design that at the same time. Because I know there isn't a lot of that in Topeka, and sometimes it's, you have to be able to communicate with that person to hear what they're wanting and not just go on this whole other direction of what you want.
Right.
And you definitely listen and you understand what they're asking for. So I think that's amazing.
Well, and I think what I've realized is sometimes it's different language speak. The homeowner may say, I want this feel, and the construction, person on the job may not know what that word necessarily means to that homeowner. So getting to be a part of that process in the most, intimate and holistic way, it just creates the better end product for the homeowner in the end, because we're not going to have that translation mishaps between people. That's just hard when people are speaking different languages.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, like I said, we built a few years ago and didn't have a designer involved in that process. And so this looks completely different this time. We are designing from the get-go. Before we've even broke ground, we're really invested into the end product design from the floor plans. I mean, from the very beginning, which wasn't how we went about it the last time. So I know it's going to be right from the start, not we built and we're adding or changing or updating or calling a designer years later to change things to make it right. It's right from before we even start.
And
awesome.
probably something that you ask your client. I mean, when you're showing people homes and all of that, I imagine one of the things that you're doing is saying, like, how do you live? Like, what are your priorities? Right? Like, those are probably a lot of conversations that you're having.
Absolutely. I just sold one over the weekend, and while we were in there, it was only a 1 bathroom, and it had this great closet space in the hallway that she's like, we're just going to shove stuff in it. And I said, well, here's your master bathroom.
Oh, brilliant.
And she was like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just having that eye to say, okay, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
So that'll be their first project going into the deal. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as kind of you both are mentioning, what I love about being part of the whole process is that, they've got a puppy. So we're going to be doing this cute little wash station for the dog right inside the back door. And so we really get to know how they live as a family unit and design the house both from how they function as a family and then also how it works on the lot. I mean, our goal is to make that a beautiful presentation, curbside presentation, but then also, how is their backyard laying out and side yard so that they can take the dog out easy. All of those things. I mean, that's what we're looking at really, really specifically to make sure when they move in, their house is like a representation of them.
You guys really should do like an album. So when it's done, they can say, okay, here's the first build and this is what it looks like, so that Tammy can always just be super busy. Not that she isn't already.
Yeah. I was thinking we need like a fun hashtag for it so that all the posts can be hashtagged and followed.
The house needs its own Facebook page, I think.
It's going to be that good. Yeah. No, it's going to be fun.
I think that is really cool, though, because you do go in and the house is done, and now you're having to figure out how to design it, and having it already in your mind and laid out, you feel like you're going to be going right into a completely finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the confidence going in is so much better this time. I know how it's going to feel. Even looking at the 3D renditions, I can just feel that it's going to work for our family. And like I said, even thinking out where's the grill gonna go outside, not just where's the couch inside gonna go. We're thinking about everything.
And I think we've had a lot of really cool conversations about what are your focal points as you're walking through the space. So in a new build, you have that opportunity to design it however you want, which is different than a remodel. Sometimes you have more constraints, but what do you want your focal point to be when someone comes in? Their house specifically has this really cozy entry that we've designed because we kind of wanted this, let's make it feel cozy and intimate when you first welcome a guest, and then it comes into this wall of windows and beautiful giant, presentation. And so we've talked about, what are those feelings that you want when you're in the house?
I'll say the number one word that my husband started this 2 years ago was cozy. Even the architect's I know you want things cozy. What does cozy mean?
Right. Right.
So she's asked to us, what does cozy mean?
Uh-huh.
Did you set him up on Pinterest and say, okay, figure this out. I need to know what cozy is?
Well, I did. I actually, like I said, I have shared several Pinterest pictures with him and forced him to get involved in making decisions and have opinions this time around.
Mm-hmm. You're making a really good pitch for husbands. Sometimes I feel like people are oh, this is the wife's thing, but I would say Jared's probably loved the process as much.
So, yeah.
Too, or seen the value in figuring it out.
I always joke that we're the exact opposite, and my husband has an opinion. For instance, the snake that I told Tammy about, we have this 12-foot anaconda snake skin that he brought back from Africa that I did not want in my living room at all. At all. And he found it while I was out to eat dinner with the girls, and we just got done painting the room. Everything, it's all travel inspired. I take pictures when we travel, and then I come home, and there it is. And I'm like, why? Why can't you just not have an opinion? just once. So, yeah, I have a snake skin in and it may not stay.
Or it'll be your talking point when people come over.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He may leave town. It may disappear. I don't know.
Tammy can find a good spot for it.
That'll be my biggest design challenge, how to work in the snake skin to the design.
He was like, well, we did travel. We did go to Africa to get it. And I said, you did. I didn't.
That's true. That's good. You're not as emotionally invested in it.
I am not emotionally invested into a snake skin. No, not at all. But we were the same way. Whenever it came to designing our kitchen, it stayed the same way for years because we couldn't agree on how to do it, and there was so much kitchen cabinet space, and that was really the reason why we bought the kitchen, or the house, was the kitchen. And so finally one day he was cutting down the street, and he said, wouldn't it be cool if we did like a live edge? So the kitchen is all downstairs in our house is super rustic, so it actually really fit.
Oh, cool.
But it was so much that you didn't really want to put granite or anything like that because it was a lot of cabinet space. So it is kind of coming from a woman that has a husband that has an opinion about absolutely everything. It's interesting to have someone that doesn't. You got to force him to get involved. So
Yep. Yeah, you probably have both sides of that, and that's a dramatic difference.
Absolutely.
No, it's true. Yeah, Jared, I was thinking about, as we've explored this idea of like coziness, which I think is probably a question a lot of people have. I mean, a lot of houses that we come into, it's kind of like maybe they have elements that they like, but it hasn't quite come together for them. And, a really good starting point for those people is like looking at your textures. Like, do you have enough texture in the space, or have you purchased all like really shiny vases? So you it's falling flat because you're not getting that variety in there. So that's a really good starting point if someone's like at home, just trying to like figure out why their room's not quite working for them, is explore some different textures than what you already have in there.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk more about design.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 Engage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101, and I am back with Tammy Theissen of Theissen Design Co. and Now Construction, and her client, Melissa Elliott. So, Tammy, let's talk about this new construction part of your business. How much has that changed things for you guys?
Yeah, we're really, really excited. So, as a remodeling company, we consider ourselves a design-driven remodeling company, meaning the first person you're going to meet if you hire our company is myself. So I'm going to go in there, do the space plan, figure out that design, all of those elements. And then my brother, Daniel Carlson, is the one that runs the construction side of our company. So we have these two great divisions of the company. It starts with design so that we know that we're executing on what the homeowners really want. And then we've always moved into the construction side, and Daniel has run that. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're really used to removing load-bearing walls and all of that thing. So we're very familiar in that process. But now we are doing this custom home with the Elliots, and we're really excited. It's made us ramp up our crew. We feel really passionately about quality, making sure that we're doing things that are going to last the test of time. There's a lot of different ways to do everything, but what we really want to make sure we're doing for our clients is giving them a home that they're not going to have problems with, that their shower systems aren't going to fail over time, that we're doing all of those extra steps to make sure it's an energy efficient home. Just really great. So yeah, we have certain elements, like we keep all of our tile work in-house because water is the biggest offense against a house. You probably see that in the realty world, is just if you are not preventing like water leaks both from the outside but then also from your interior plumbing, which often happens with shower systems, that's going to be the first thing that fails in a house. And so we like to keep that control in-house. And so we have one of the best tile installers, I think, in the whole country. He's just amazing and such a perfectionist, as is my brother. So they work well together. So yeah, we've ramped up our internal team to accommodate like a construction from the ground up system. And then, after those initial phases, it kind of flows into the same process that we had for our major luxury remodels.
So are you expecting to get even busier? Because you stay busy as it is.
We do stay. We've been really fortunate. Our biggest word of mouth is just, a happy customer that's told another happy customer that is looking for something similar. So I feel really, really fortunate that we get to continue to work with people that we really enjoy. And it's fun because sometimes, they'll tell me like, hey, Melissa's the one that gave me your name. And that's fun because we get to make connections with other friend groups and get to know people that know each other. And so will we get busier? I mean, I hope to be doing new construction for other families in the future. And we're really excited. I think it's going to be an awesome experience for the homeowner to have this really integrated process. And that's what I'm most excited about seeing happen, is just, as Melissa mentioned earlier, how we can integrate the design. I mean, we have lighting spec'd. We haven't even broken ground yet, and we know where every light in the house is going to go, what the size of that light is. So there's just things that normally happen so much later in the build process. So you were already confined at that point, whereas now we're just thinking through all of those details right at the forefront.
I would imagine that would help with putting together the budget too, because you're not having to worry about going over budget if you've got it all planned out.
Absolutely. And that was one of the first things Tammy said is we are going to really work on the front end on your budget. Like she said, we haven't even broken ground, and we are working on the cabinet budget, the tile budget, the lighting budget, even the windows, everything, roofing. We are locking that budget tight from the get-go. So I have confidence that we're going to stay on budget. Everyone says when you build a house, expect to go over, what X percentage. And I always say, no, we're not going to. We're going to stay on budget.
Well, and I think the difference of that is in this pre-planning phase that we've committed to and have been really thorough at, we're not necessarily putting allowances in, which is typical in new construction, is to kind of have certain buckets of allowances. And then it's your job as the homeowner to either stay within that allowance or to have that, incur that overage and be okay with it. And that why, builders have to do it that way is because they don't necessarily know what someone's going to pick. So they have to make some assumptions. And that's how the process has been driven for a long time. But what our process allows us to do is to not make estimates based on assumptions, but actually to make concrete numbers based on what the design that the homeowner wants is. So we will be more accurate because we've already fleshed out that design. We know what kind of cabinet details the Elliots want in their kitchen. And so when we're sending that out to bid, we're bidding off of really, really specific specifications for that. And so those will stay true. And that's how, honestly, how I also do my bidding for remodeling. I'm a big proponent on making that design so that we're speccing things not maybe at a builder grade commodity level, but at actually what the customer is showing me in their Pinterest pictures or their house pictures, to make sure that I'm giving them accurate numbers for what they really want.
Which sounds great, because I know everybody for so long has had to use those buckets, and then that really becomes stressful, especially if each person has an opinion on what they want in there, and now you have to sort through that first, and then figure out, okay, well, what are we going to do? And they do tend to go over budget.
It's a lot of extra communication, which you have to allocate for. And what I think is really neat, we have worked extensively on the electric budget and the electric layout. So one of the things Melissa and I talked about is, let's figure out how many cans you want in the space, because that's going to impact the electrician's number at the end. And so thinking through that, because in other situations, he may say, I think 4 cans is fine in the space, but you as the homeowner might know that you want 6 cans. And so the more information like that we can gather on the front end, again, it just solidifies that bid, that you're actually getting the bid for what is in your head. And that takes a little bit of work to kind of figure out what's in your head and get that on paper to somebody that then can, bid it accurately. But I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, I think putting the work in now is going to be a stress relief when we break ground. It can be such a stressful process. You've got walls going up, and you question everything when it's happening. But I think knowing ahead of time, it's going to just be a stress. I hope it's going to be a stress-free process. You have that knowledge of having built before, right?
And it's the nature of the business to be making a lot of decisions on the fly, and so that's the element that we're also working toward, is to have briefings for each of those areas and trades, so that you're not fielding a lot of calls or on the fly decisions, and that's gives the homeowner the time to make that decision ahead of time and not feel like they're needing to have that to them within 12 hours or 24 hours or something. So we're really excited about how that's going to go.
Just the thought of being able to design as you went makes me want to build.
I know. Right?
I think that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. Do you think? Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and maybe makes it feel a little more real, would you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, you start the pre-building process. I mean, some people start it years before they break ground. I mean, when you start with the plans, some people work on plans for a year, and then you're working on the bids and the selections. I mean, it's a long process, so it can be hard to be excited because it can just be so overwhelming. So, yeah, it's exciting at this point, because we're in the heart of it, even though it hasn't started yet.
We're also, for the Elliots, doing 3D renderings through their architect. And so that's giving us another chance to see things in actual 3-dimensional space. And it kind of also gives us the opportunity to see those secondary elements like window treatments and, where we need to soften up a corner. So that's something that's not happening a ton and is pretty new to our market, but to be able to see everything 3D, different viewpoints. So you can say, hey, when I'm standing at the island at my sink, what am I looking at? And making sure we're lining that up, because you're going to stand there doing dishes a ton. And so making sure that we're liking all those sight lines and how that lays out. And then we can capture those wow features in the house, knowing that they're right when you see them.
Oh, yeah. We changed several wall, I don't know what you call them, sizes, dimensions through this 3D visual of standing in one corner of the house. Oh, you can't see that corner of that door or the arch that we're going to do well enough from this corner. Let's move a closet wall so we can see that beautiful wall of arches better. So it's things like that, just on 2D, I was like, oh, yeah, that wall looks fine. We should put it in 3D. All of a sudden, we need to make some tweaks,
And those are the tweaks that maybe we would have caught in the framing time, but at this point, we're able to catch them in the 3-dimensional phase before we even hit framing. So again, we're just trying to hone in on being the most accurate and precise we can.
That is amazing, and we're almost out of time. So, Tammy, how would they get a hold of you if they wanted to have you come in and do a design or build?
Yes, well, email is great. So, Tammy at tdesigncompany.com. So that's TAMMY at tdesigncompany.com. And then we are super active on Instagram and Facebook. So check us out, Theissen Design Co. is our handle for both of those, and we'd love to hear from you.
And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give us a call at 785-213-5188.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.